So what is the thing that's stopping Democrats from just, pushing down the pedal on anti-corruption? And polling data shows us that people are pretty pessimistic about Democrats in terms of like seeing them as corrupt as well. There's a recent poll by YouGov that asked people whether they thought like members of Congress would like take bribes, and like it was like 70% of people around that number said that yes, like a Democratic member of Congress would be likely to take a bribe. And they said this about like specific Democratic and Republican politicians. So the starting point is people seem to look at American politics and see both parties as similarly corrupt. It's an interesting observation because it's very clear that one party is just much more openly corrupt than the other. But I think that points to, okay, so what might be driving what would seem like a false equivalence, but one that may have some like footing in an actual, like how people like see and understand politics. And I think that's because of a lot of what we see is like legalized corruption. So campaign finance, for instance, it's hard to really differentiate between like a large donor having influence and that not being a type of corruption, even if it's legal. And I don't think a lot of voters necessarily make that distinction. And I don't think, honestly, that they should. I sort of agree with most voters that even these legalized forms of influence are forms of corruption. And so I would say the way that this would take place is, one, it has to be a focal point. Like you have to talk about corruption. But the more importantly, for it to really stick, Democrats need to find a way to signal very clearly that they are not corrupt. They need to take very clear, probably costly action to show that they are different. They have not done that yet, but that I think is sort of the crucial step. If they can accomplish that, then they have one of the biggest sort of electoral openings I think any party has seen in our lifetime.